All right, and welcome to the still unnamed Paracast, Parashare, whatever you want to call it, with me, Monty the Yank, or Brett Montgomery, and my partner in crime is Boggsimus. How you doing, Boggs?
Yeah.
You?
I'm good. You chill.
Chills me in the corner.
No one puts baby in the corner.
So what's going on?
Oh, nothing, man. Just playing shows in my band and working like a dog.
Speaking of shows in your band, that music is provided by his band, which used to be Pirate's Life and is now
Brave the Sea.
And you can check them out
at bravetheseaband.com or Facebook, Brave the Sea.
There you go. You can check me out on Twitter. It's Monty the Yank, at Monty the Yank. And you can check out, it's Columbus RIP on Facebook. How is the webpage coming for that?
We got the Facebook page running, but we don't have the website up and running quite yet.
Okay.
But we are trying to find a date that we can all get together to go over the evidence from the Marietta expedition at the Lafayette Hotel.
It sounds like there's some good stuff, though.
Yeah, some good stuff did happen. Now it's all about translating those personal experiences to actual data that we can let people see or listen to.
Sweet. So that is coming up. So we had to delay another week, and right now we're doing about bi-weekly. We would like to do it weekly, but as you heard earlier, we have very busy lives. And so far, we've made $0 off this podcast. So for the time being, it might be every 2 weeks. We will have that evidence coming towards you. The good news is I've got some interesting stories to talk about. So are you ready for the stories?
Lay them on me.
I didn't find any funny ones this week, unfortunately, but the one I really do want to talk about, and I do apologize in advance because some of these have videos, and I will try to stop them before they start playing. The first one is from the Huffington Post. Are you familiar with the Huffington Post?
Yeah, a lot of their content gets shared on Facebook.
Yes, it's an easy share, usually clickbait, but I've seen this other places. So from the Huffington Post, have you heard about the radio signals they are catching from deep space?
Not this particular one. I've heard about stories like this before, but what are the circumstances of these radio signals?
So we have scientists have breakthrough with 15 fast radio bursts from FRBs, which is FRB host Galaxy 121102. They have a repeater that is coming back from outer space. So what they're finding, and if you don't know what's going on, this isn't very interesting. If you kind of know what's going on, this is super interesting. So they have caught this consistent back and forth radio signal that it does the same thing over and over again. It goes from quiet to large spikes of. I was listening to it, and it sounds like a pulsating. So you kind of boom, 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 and then goes quiet again, and then you have this low hum coming through. Now, radio signals have to come from somewhere. Now, they can, if I know my science, which I don't, you can't just have radio signals appear. Like, naturally, they don't really appear, per se, correct?
Radio frequency signals?
Yes.
Not like how you're describing it. Actually having them repeat, and it'd be interesting to see like what frequency they're on. I know there are celestial objects that let off sounds. Like there's a black hole, I believe, that is letting off one of the lowest natural tones in the universe. Let me find that real quick.
Okay. while you're looking for that, that's exactly some of the explanations that they have. Is the FRB's range is from an outburst of rotating neutron stars with extremely strong magnetic fields, which is very possible. They think that there are two stars that are very, very close that are emitting the signal because of when they're passing each other. As they're, whatever you want to call it, the waves are passing and sending off the signal, which is actually really cool. Now, what they're saying too, that could be directed energy used by extraterrestrial civilizations. Do I think there are Martians? And do I think we've been visited? Maybe not. Do I think in the ever expansive universe and beyond universe there is other beings? Yes, I absolutely believe that.
So the black hole I was talking about is in the Perseus cluster. So it is a sound wave being emitted from this black hole 57 octaves lower than middle C. So if you know your music, it is extremely low. It's one of the lowest tones possible. That's just incredible that there's something out there in the universe emitting that. Now, so from what I've seen in this HuffPost article, the bursts are coming from 3 billion light years away. So if it was light traveling, it'd be 3 billion years for the light to get here. Let's see. Let me see radio frequency speed.
Oh, God. Yeah, it would be
So, in miles.
Now, what they're saying here is it is surprising that the host would be a dwarf galaxy. University of Montreal, Canada, said that the news released earlier this year, one would generally expect most FRBs to come from large galaxies, which have the largest number of stars and neutron stars. Neutron stars, remnants of massive stars, are among the top candidates to explain FRBs. So exactly what we're kind of talking about here. So how old could this noise potentially be?
About 3 billion years old.
So still alive, right? Yeah. I know my math.
So let's just think about this. So if you look at the timeline of humans, and let's just look at a smaller timeline. Look at the year 1900 to now, 2017.
Yeah.
Look at how technology has, how much it's increased in that over 100-year span. Now, imagine you are a civilization that 3 billion years ago had the ability to emit radio waves into space and communicate with another object.
Yeah.
Now, 3 billion years later, what do you think they're up to? That's something you just got to think about. Now, the cool thing is, there are different things out there in space that can give off different frequencies. Like there are stars that spin so rapidly they let off a clicking sound, and actually the drummer of the Grateful Dead actually does like remixes to them. He records these.
I didn't know that.
He records these sounds and like just drums to them.
That's actually really neat.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but it's very interesting. But what sucks is it's 3 billion light years away, so whatever we're picking up is long past.
Yeah, it says the distance of the dwarf galaxy is so far away that the sound that we're collecting right now was when the Earth was limited to single-cell organisms. So it's been a minute. Let's just put it that way. But pretty interesting. The other one, this guy actually took and he isolated it. And if you get a chance, it's on YouTube. I'm going to look for the link. I listened to it a couple days ago. It's boring. Again, it's boring if you don't know what it is. It's super interesting if you do know what it is. So I like space.
As do I.
I like my space, and I like space.
You know who else likes MySpace?
Tom.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. No matter what, he's always your friend.
He's like, I'll be your friend forever. I unfollow you. No. Do you still have MySpace?
Do I still have a MySpace page that's out there? Probably. Do I use it? No.
You don't share your music on MySpace? It's been sold like 12 times.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the current state of MySpace.
Good luck with that. While you do that, let's talk about another out-of-body experience. How you can have the out-of-body experience and travel through time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. One man claims that he has been doing that exact thing since the age of 5. He had an out-of-body experience, or a near-death experience, at the age of 5. The Canadian, his name is Tom, I can't say your last name, claims that he has been having out-of-body experiences, OBEs, for 42 years now. The jury's still out on whether an OBE is real or just perceived. To get into detail here, out-of-body experiences, a lot of people believe that it's your brain basically shutting down. Your brain is essentially electricity, and you go through a lot of things, seeing the light when you're dying. It's the same thing you experience sometimes when you go under for surgery, because really putting you under for surgery is essentially almost killing you, by the way. Don't know if anybody knows that. But the big thing with that is it your brain playing tricks where you feel like you're floating outside of your own self? Or is it the fact that we have a quote-unquote soul and we can leave our body? Sometimes you hear about that with sleep paralysis, people being able to walk around in their sleep paralysis. I do have a story about that after the story, because I have experienced that, and it is really creepy. Anyways, Mr. I can't say your last name, Canadian, revealed how to do it in his 27th Glastonbury Symposium, there we go, an annual conference dedicated to the paranormal, conspiracy theories, alternative thought, and New Age philosophy. Mr. Canadian told the symposium he now teaches out-of-body exploration. They asked him, "I have done it by accident a couple times, but what is the technique to do it step by step?" He said, "Like with anything in life, the distinct thing is to be clear about what you want to do." He believes in the form of OBE called astral projection, said the willing, full separation of the soul and astral body. Let's go. My belief, I am no longer looking at physical reality. It's not just out of body. We are conscious. So he goes through step by step during the thing. It's weird because I think this is, I don't want to say crap. I don't believe it, but I have experienced it. Is that kind of weird?
So, no, not really. They're okay, this is a paranormal show, so a lot of people have experienced, like for me, for example, I've experienced some pretty crazy paranormal things.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean I believe everything someone tells me. So I think it's completely acceptable to have had an experience, but not to believe every other shared experience out there.
So have you ever had an out-of-body experience?
I have.
Okay.
Yes. So I got really into astral projection, and which that stemmed from me being interested in lucid dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing some exercises for preparing your mind to enter the lucid dream state, and I don't know what I did, but I entered sleep paralysis, so I couldn't move,
Mm-hmm.
and this loud humming sound started, and this electrical current started running through my body.
Ooh.
The only thing I could actually move was my right foot. I was laying on my stomach,
Mm-hmm.
and I could move my right foot, but every time I do it, it felt like I was getting shocked, and it was like a constant, like a hum, like a, and I'd move my foot, and it'd be like, and it'd feel like I was being shocked more.
Yeah.
It was strange. It felt like the bed was vibrating.
Oh wow.
But then it was very disoriented because next thing I know, I'm essentially doing a backflip in the bedroom, and I went out of the wall. and I had to look around, and everything was fuzzy and strange looking, and I noticed the sun rising. And I thought about like being back in my body, and then I zipped right back into it. I all of a sudden felt the electrical current, and then I was able to move again, and I immediately got up and went outside, and the sun was rising, and it was like one of the most terrifying yet awesome moments I've experienced.
Mine's sort of like that as well. I've had a lot. I used to have maybe once a week I'd have a very bad lucid dream with sleep paralysis, to the point where like you think you can't breathe and you're gonna die type thing. The one I remember specifically is I was napping on the couch. That was always my problem when I would nap, because you're not sleeping right, you're not laying right, maybe your head's not in the right position, whatever it may be. I was sitting there, the television's on. I specifically wake up. It's real foggy. I can't see very well because I'm still sleeping. I know I'm sleep paralysis. I can't wake myself up. But for this moment, I was just like, well, I'll just try to stand up and get somebody. I got myself up. I walk into the other room where my brothers were at, and they were just talking around the kitchen table. And then all of a sudden I snap back to my body, wake up, and then when I go out into the kitchen, my brothers are sitting exactly where I saw them. So I think there's something weird about that. I don't know. It could just be I heard them talking. I know what they're wearing. They sit at the same place normally when they're in there. And maybe I was just dreaming it up. But it was pretty interesting because, again, I've experienced that stuff. I have woken up. I've seen stuff that happened later, like almost premonitions. But when you hear somebody like talking about it, a lot of times I don't believe it. It's really weird.
Yeah, so the government actually used to do experiences or experiments for scrying, and that's essentially what, like, remote viewing kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And that's kind of what they think people are doing with it. They would like have a guy across the complex, and he could like remote view a room with papers on the table and read the papers out to the agents. So there's been some studies into it. Yeah. I think it's definitely possible. I think essentially we're all chemical reactions and energy. Mm-hmm. And I think energy can exist outside of your material state. So I think it's completely possible with focus. I mean, look at the stuff like monks can do. If they can, like the Tibetan monks, if they completely focus on something, they can slow their heartbeat down and lower their blood pressure and pretty much go into like a hibernation state. So
you know what you lack?
What do I lack?
You lack focus. What is that?
I gotta realign my chi, man.
Yeah, I gotta take that chi and shove it way up your butthole. Isn't that where chi goes, right?
I think.
Do you eat it, or is this a suppository?
Chi goes in your butthole.
Okay, good. From MysteriousUniverse.org, an airliner in Scotland had a recent close encounter with an object which aviation experts have so far been unable to identify. And what do we call unidentified objects that are flying? UFOs. The incident is the second such near miss to happen in the airport since 2012. The A320 pilot reported that he was approximately 3 nautical miles finals from runway 23 when the crew spotted an orange light ahead and slightly above, which appeared to be traveling in the opposite direction. The light passed by 100 to 200 feet above their aircraft. The report concluded by noting that the board could not determine the identity or proximity of the object. Sighting and near misses of drones have become fairly common over the last couple of years. Drones are ruining UFOs. I would just like to point out. And this guy's face is amazing. His name is Brett Tingley.
Drones are you ruining UFOs?
They are, because back in the day when you got a cool picture, I mean, it could have been fake, but at least you'd be like, yeah, that's cool. Now it's like, well, that's clearly a drone, maybe. I don't know, but I think it's a drone.
So funny.
So,
technology just cracks me up.
Things I hate: drones.
Oh, I hate them. I can't.
End of list.
I either think they're UFOs or I can't fake them being UFOs.
I want fake pictures of Spider-Man. What? No. Give me a drone. Okay. UFOs, real or fake?
That's a broad question.
Yeah. Alien UFOs, real or fake?
I think it's kind of I think it's kind of egotistical of humans to think like we're the only ones.
Yes, there's just no way.
Like, but then again, space is so massive. I mean, we just talked about a dwarf galaxy 3 billion light years away, and we discussed how long it would take. But space is so massive. The technology you'd have to traverse space is something a line of bending dimensions. You'd have to essentially bend 2 points in space-time and essentially warp. There's no way you can jump on a spaceship and travel the galaxy. You just can't. We don't live that long. There's not that much energy. Like you'd have to. It just, the technology that we have now and the mindset we have now can't even fathom that. So
we're struggling to get to Mars.
Yeah. So for example, Mars also has a very strange orbital that word.
Yeah, you said it right, I think.
Orbital.
Orbital. Orbison. Ray. Orbison.
Bueller. So there's a point where you'll see Mars. They've taken some like still photos of it in the sky, and at some months it looks like it backtracks and does like a little loop. So that's interesting.
Well, doesn't it have like kind of an oval loop when it goes?
Yeah, it does like a little loop-de-loop, and it's got a very sporadic rotation or revolutionary period. So you got to like time, just the math of timing to travel to Mars at a certain time. You have to leave at a certain time and basically intercept it. That's why there are rocket scientists. I can't even fathom the math involved with that. But like, take that for example. It's hard for us to get to Mars. It's hard for us to get to the moon. And now we're talking about beings that have mastered space and time, and they're visiting us. I bet you we're like a zoo to them. We have to be. They're probably like, look at these creatures. Look at them look at them driving around. And, yeah, essentially, they're destroying their planet. They're driving around in fossil fuel powered vehicles that are inefficient. Yeah. Like combustion rate on a car. 70% heat loss. Mm-hmm. That's just ridiculous. We have 30% efficiency on our vehicles. So you just like look at that stuff, and then you see the prospects that there could be UFOs, and you're just like, just take something from Star Trek, man. Just like come down here and teach us, because we're killing ourselves. Help us help you. I can impart I can like, they can help me, and then I can impart humor and dank memes upon them.
I have 2 rather important skills.
Dude, I am a meme lord, and I can help them. I can up their meme game.
Thank you for the awesome rocket that'll get me anywhere I need to be. Here is Peppy Frog.
I was going to say, here's Pepe Frog. You've been visited by the rocket Pepe.
Share within 5 seconds, or you'll lose a rocket. See, here's the problem. If they visit us, we would mug them, and then we would steal their ride. Right?
Probably.
Don't visit America, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, like land somewhere like Norway.
land in Norway, they'd probably give them a ticket for some kind of pollution violation.
They're like, no, you don't drive a nuclear powered ship. I don't even know how a Norway accent sounds. But
not close.
I know. I kind of sounded French like. For some reason, I'm in Norway.
Look at that asshole.
Oh, Sherry, here's your ticket.
Sorry, anybody from France listening, which I've looked. You're not.
Go ahead. All right, fine. Just to counteract that, fine. They land in America, and a typical American meets them. Oh, cheeseburgers and guns. Oh, freedom, 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 bald eagles. Oh.
Hey, man. Where'd you get them rims at?
I'll tell you what, man. That ship there looks real nice. I was building one when I was younger at my outhouse.
I got like 2 ships I'm building. Taking the parts off the one now. But it should be up and running year or 2, I give or take. Need some tires.
I got an 86 Escort I'm using for parts for it.
All right. So, I don't know where that went. Anyways, UFOs, I'm with you on that. I believe there are stuff. I just don't think that aliens have no reason to come visit us.
I'm telling you, we're a zoo. There are actual theories, like seriously.
That every animal is from a different planet.
Well, not just that. I mean, that's interesting. I didn't even know that. Mm-hmm. But like, there are theories that, like, I mean, I guess I could build on that. But think if you were interstellar beings and you had the technology that you created, you'd look down at humanity and be like, ugh, these people. They probably just like laugh at us.
Do you think we're the only planet that has weed?
Marijuana?
Yeah.
Like the actual like plant or like a variation of it?
Yeah.
I think there's probably similar things out there. There's probably some plants on other planets that will transcend you.
What was the monsters, aliens, in the original Star Wars smoking in Cantina?
I don't know. They would have had to been smoking weed to listen to that song and repeat for all that time. They're like, hey man, you hear that song you just played? Play it again.
Tell that stupid.
One more time.
How are you playing that?
Dude, the worst is when they go back and they remastered it.
Yes.
Do you remember was it the scene with was it in Jabba's palace where they added that like vocalist? Oh, Tommy, that'll hit you.
No. Yeah, and the freaking elephant's playing like the whatever with his not hands. It's bad. It's like, terrible. How are you doing that? You guys are awesome. I love you. You tried to make a alien that kind of looked like a blueberry sexy. Why?
Oh, dude, that was. There have been many times where I've made fun of that movie. Oh God, it's so good. I love that movie though. I love Star Wars, but like those remasters, like some of those scenes, unnecessary. Like they added CG to them, and like you gotta like appreciate Star Wars for what it was at the time. They didn't have they invented a lot of the technology to have those special effects, and then they went back.
And kept messing with it.
And like I'm gonna do air quotes that you can't see. Remastered them and threw in just abysmal CG.
Yeah.
Like who? All right. So when you originally watched Jedi, did you watch that Jabba Palace scene and think, man, I wish there was a sexy blueberry wearing lipstick screaming at me right now?
Where is my dance number? Damn it.
Yeah, no one did that. Who thought that?
It's stupid.
I mean, okay, we're also talking about the same saga that has Jar Jar Binks in it.
Yes.
So.
Ooh, you want to talk about theories?
Sure.
Jar Jar Binks
Sith Lord?
Lord. I believe it. I believe it.
Ursa Misa, you and Big Poodle.
Unlimited. Damn it, I didn't even do it. I did Yoda. Misa have ultimate power.
Annie, we still have ultimate power.
You should join your Jar Jar just turned Italian.
Annie,
Annie, come here.
Come here and meet my cousin, Mario.
Join the Sith. We bring everybody back to life.
It's the return of the spaghetti.
Mama, they're making the spaghetti. Jesus, well, we got them off the list. Check.
The Death Stars is the bigger meatball.
All right. So UFOs.
Who can we offend next?
Yes. People that fly drones, Americans, which is not hard. The French, the not Norwegians, and now the Italians.
And all the inhabitants of Jar Jar's planet. It escapes me.
Not Tatooine.
Starts with a T, isn't it? Something Naboo. It's
Naboo.
It's Naboo.
Naboo.
Yeah, I know it's Boo in it.
You'll Naboo do that again.
You'll also be punished to the planet's core.
Arnold walks in. I'll eat up my planets.
You take the speediest transport and you go through the planet's core, okay?
You go to the middle.
What you owe me here is a life debt, you see? You owe your life to me. I tell you.
I'll tell you when to die. Famous exorcist performs group demon removal. There are 6, 7, or 8 possessed people here in the moment. It is cheaper to get your exorcism in bulk where you wear. It is.
Did they use Groupon?
Do you and 6 of your friends currently have demons possessing you?
That better be like a really hefty discount, because that's kind of like that's hard to achieve. I'm telling you, Groupon, if you're listening to this, like, you better be getting like 50% off for that.
Or more.
Yeah, dude.
But here's the thing. So he exorcises one, wouldn't the demon just go into somebody else? Like, can't get me here. Just run back into somebody, right? That's what I would do.
Obviously they go in the cats.
Yeah, they do.
Because cats are all evil.
They are all evil. So is it cheaper to get your exorcism in bulk? I don't think they have an answer. Is it better? Of course it's not better. Nothing is ever better in bulk. Ever. Where would one go to have more than one demon cast out at a time? The answer to the last question, and possibly the others, could be found in Palermo, Sicily. Of course it's the Italians. At a parish of an elderly priest, whose fame, as the result of a recent documentary, has made him the most in-demand exorcist in Sicily. Never mind. I'm just going to move on. Especially since he deals in quantity. I am talking to you, Satan, Prince of Darkness. I curse you. I chase you out of my life. By the way, this is also from mysteriousuniverse.org. The documentary is titled Libra Nos, Deliver Us, and its 80-year-old star is Francis. I'm just going to call him Francis. Father Cataldo Mislazo, sure, who performs exorcism on demand as well as every Tuesday at a regular scheduled exorcism mass that is reportedly well attended by the possessed as well as the possessed curious. Award-winning director Federica De Giacomo, you can tell I'm not Italian, everybody, said in an interview of The Hollywood Reporter. I was interested in the psychology of everyday life, so it sounded to me quite interesting and also quite absurd, because how can you teach someone how to deal with the devil? That's a good question. He goes on to talk about him basically doing it's a drive-through, everybody. You come in and you just get exercised, but you come back with the demon, so you weren't exercised. So what? If that many people in the town are possessed by the devil, I would start blaming the priest.
Just don't live in that town.
Move. You'd be surprised how quick it changed. Why'd you move? I kept getting possessed.
I thought I was possessed. Turns out it was just gas.
I'd take a good poop.
If that's the case, dude, I'm possessed.
I'm so possessed right now.
I'm so possessed right now.
All right. So, are you ready to kind of talk about our topic for tonight?
Yes, let's do it.
It's not a lame topic. It's actually pretty interesting if you start looking at the science. But I want to start with a lame 4 signs your pet has seen a ghost. Not BuzzFeed, by the way, everybody. I thought it was BuzzFeed at first. It's actually strangerdimensions.com. Can your pet see ghosts? Here are 4 ways to tell if they have. The dog or cat or ferret is looking through the air with eyes following something invisible. Every cat ever?
Yeah.
What the fuck did you see, cat? I'm trying not to cuss here. What'd you see, cat? What is it?
What is it? What are you looking at?
It must be a ghost. December 2011, YouTube user, incredible, Zach Clark decided to record footage of his dog Zoe, who had been exhibiting strange behaviors, air quotes, online. This included focusing intently on a certain area of the apartment and seeming to follow an invisible force with her eyes. In the end of the video, which I did watch, the dog's being a dog, guys. But if your dog is looking randomly at absolutely nothing, yeah. Number 2, barking, growling, or hissing when nothing is there. My dog's literally every time I try to lay down. As seen in the video, the dog not only follows the invisible something, but also barks and growls at it. This could, of course, be due to a variety of reasons. Perhaps there was mice in the wall, which would be concerning. I'd rather have a ghost. And there's a sound present that inaudible to humans. So they do actually agree to that. But there is another possibility. Could it be a sign that a ghost is around? Well, yeah, I guess that's one of the possibilities. Number 3, they ignore you. Every cat ever?
Oh, man.
My cat loves me, but it ignores the shit out of me.
Okay, so a good phrase is dogs have owners, cats have staff.
Yes, absolutely. Why have you not fed me yet?
Oh, hello, mortal. I see you've returned. That's wonderful. Now you can feed me then die.
I shit in the box that you made for me. And outside of it. And I peed in your shoes. And number 4, fear of the unknown. This is the only one that I do kind of find somewhat credible. Because, especially with dogs, dogs for the most part are very curious. My one dog is a wuss, but if he'll go after stuff, especially my hunting dog. But I've experienced times where she'll kind of jolt back or kind of be weary to continue on, where she would run anywhere you would let her go. Could it just be she heard a noise and it's just the fear spike coming in? Very much so. But that's the only one off of this list that I kind of believe in, especially for dogs. Cats, fear of the unknown. Cats are fearful of cucumbers.
I think that's an evolutionary thing. They think they equate them to like a predator, like snakes. Yeah. I have yet to try that. Amanda actually bought some zucchini. I might.
You go out there, you're like, oh man, she made zucchini bread already. Well, let's try the bread.
Dang it, man. I was going to freak the cats out with this.
Okay. Cat's eating the zucchini bread again. Damn it.
Dang it.
Have you heard of Midnight in the Desert?
I have not.
Ooh, it's actually a really good late night talk show. I believe isn't it Nori? No. Midnight in the Desert is Art Bell, who no longer does anything because he thought somebody was going to kill his family. True story.
What?
He came back and he did like 3 episodes and he freaked out because he thought he was being stalked and his family was being threatened because he came back, so he retired. I just think it was his way out. But this is from his website, midnightinthedesert.com. Can pets see ghosts? So that's going to be our topic du jour, specifically cats. Why cats and dogs may be more sensitive to the paranormal than we are. It's a good, quick read. The big thing to talk about in here, and this is what I want to get to, is the easiest explanation that a dog or a cat or other animals potentially could see ghosts as energy is that dogs and cats see into different light auroras. So not infrared, but cats can see into, like, what is it? Not infra. What's the other one? The other way.
Let me see. Light spectrum.
Yeah. It's going to drive me nuts. I should have had that up, but they see into a different light spectrum than we do. They ultraviolet. So they can see into different light spectrums, which potentially, just like we go back to infrared and how it can sense things that maybe we can't see, is that maybe a cat sees a ghost just because it's more visible to their eye. What do you think?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like I was saying before, like, what energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So if you're a being that can manipulate energy, it's safe to say that you are made of energy. Mm-hmm. We can only see the visible light spectrum, which is just the tiniest fraction of the wavelength out there. So yeah, it's possible that cats are literally looking at other wavelengths of energy.
So if we talk ghost as energy, I would say so I've determined, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've determined I live in a house that is not haunted. There's no, and when we talk haunted, I guess there's different things. I think places could have ghosts that aren't haunted. It would appear that there's a good chance that I am not possessed by any ghost or being followed by any entities. Thank God, and I hope it stays that way. But so I've never experienced it with my animals. I know when you lived at home, did you have cats?
Yeah, cats, dogs. Yeah.
Did you ever experience things where like it's just, wow, that was weird, like odd behaviors that it's not explained away, that because my cat's stupid and looking at dust?
Yeah, there's been times where cats they'll stare up at like the corner of the room, or they'll intently look around. Dogs will do it too. They'll like freak out and not want to go certain places. Like we had when I lived on historical Hudson Avenue, and that in my buddy's big house, he had a pit bull named Dozer, and there were times like you literally could not throw a leash on that dog and pull him into the basement, and other times he'd go right down there with you. So he would he would just be scared for no reason. His tail would go between his legs and he would just not want to go in the basement. So I think he was like, he knew something was down there. It was like looking at it, which like comes to make you think like you're standing in the stairwell and you're looking up at the dog, like, come down here. And the dog's like looking behind you like, no, dude, you don't see what I see.
Get upstairs.
What are you doing, man? It looks like the Babadook.
Got me down. French forgot. Like, oh my God, he's French.
Oh, you come down here with me.
Bring your pupper. So this story kind of talks about this guy, was it David? Oh, Adam Ellis. I'm sorry. He has a Twitter tale about his cat. And he said strange behavior of Ellis's cat showed up earlier in the story. They were part of the very first thread. Ellis tweeted about the whole thing. To recap, he began to by telling us that he had first had a series of dreams, one in which a boy with a misshapen head appeared on the rocking chair, so Jason Voorhees, in his bedroom before starting to come after him threateningly. One in which a girl shared both Dear David's name and a few rules for how to communicate with him, and one in which Ellis asked Dear David some questions and accidentally broke one of the rules. They don't explain the rules. Some time went by. Ellis was able to find out anything but Dear David, or about Dear David via the internet, and eventually he moved to the apartment above the one he had originally lived in. Then things get a little weird. He had been, when he looked out of the peephole, he said that he had sworn that there was something on the other side, something not necessarily of this earth. So did Ellis's cat start sensing? So he talks about the cat sensing something going on. He goes, that alerts him to go to the door. He looks out the door and then sees another figure, a ghostly figure. What it's talking about here is exactly what we just talked about. A lot of animals, other than that are, I lost my train of thought. They talk about how it might have everything to do with ultraviolet light. So humans cannot see in that type of light, which animals can. So that's one of the big indicators that, because you doing the ghost hunting, I think you guys, are you all kind of the same ilk that ghosts are energy? Because I know you're kind of saying that, like, people are energy. What is left over is energy.
Yeah, I think ghosts are essentially energy. I mean, they can manipulate objects, and yeah, the science points to that they're energy.
Yeah. So if they're energy and they might be visible, that's why a lot of people, you do your EVPs and, that frequency in that recording picks something up that you don't hear. And it's because of energy. The whole idea of this is that, they can see on a different wavelength. There's a good chance that this energy is visible, but we just can't see it. I think that's very interesting. I think that if there are ghosts and there are energy, there's a good chance that animals could see that much clearer, I guess I should say, than people can.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think they definitely can see. I don't think they necessarily see everything, but like if you have a being that can gather itself and pull energy from its environment, and that is energy, I don't think it's necessarily at a constant wavelength, like it's a constant energy frequency. I think it fluctuates,
comes in and out.
Yeah, so I think that when cats are looking at that, like, or just animals in general, they're seeing like that, the manifestation of the being or whatever they're looking at.
So the other thing I want to talk about with cats is the idea that you can see paranormal activities happening through a cat's eye. Did you look up anything on that when I talked about that?
No, are they like talking about like actually using a cat's physical eyeball?
So what they're saying is that looking through, so I got this idea actually from, it's Beyond the Darkness. It's a podcast, very good podcast if you're not listening. They've been doing paranormal news for, 15 years. And he was talking to, actually, and it wasn't Brett Butler. Remember Brett Butler, by the way, in Grace Under Fire?
No.
You don't remember that show at all? Oh. Anyways, it was that, but I think it was the one before that. And they were talking about, cat eyes. And he was talking about there's a theory that you can see stuff through a cat's eye that you wouldn't see with the naked eye. Like he said, you ever stare at your cat, which I guess I do sometimes, lovingly as I pet him. And he falls
like
asleep on my lap.
Just looking at the cat like you're just an evil piece of trash, and I love you.
I fucking love you. God, I can't cuss. Damn it. Trying not to cuss. At least 2 F-bombs per. So, what he was saying is that he has even experienced looking into a cat's eye and then catching like a shadow figure. Or
I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about like crap like what was that, Wild Wild West, where they had that head?
Yeah. No.
I'm like, man, that's kind of morbid. Like, let's just behead this cat. Look through its eyes.
Come here, kitty.
Come here, kitty. We're gonna do this. See, meow.
See, meow. Meow. See, meow.
Meow.
By the way, I've got my wife doing that.
You have her doing meow, see?
No, cutting cats' heads off.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Is she going meow, see? Wow.
Anyways, so then the question is, okay, that would be, to me, that's almost a theory of you can see paranormal things through a mirror. You know what I mean? Because some people believe that you can only experience certain paranormal activities through a mirror.
Yeah, I've seen things where people have like put a mirror and they kind of like, look through the mirror behind them. I've seen that's interesting. That must be they must think like the mirror can pick up things that they can't.
What I've heard is that also it's to experience a ghost may not reveal itself unless you're not looking. But again, I'm kind of the ilk that I would assume, just because of the activities that I've experienced and my mom has experienced, really comes from the energy is not trapped, but it's almost like a recording and not actually active. I think a lot of things that you find, and this is coming from a guy that doesn't go out and actively seek it, so you probably have a different opinion on it, but I think a lot of it ends up being recording of you're experiencing stuff from the past.
Residual haunting.
Yes, residual haunting.
I think there's a lot of that, like especially places that are very rich with their historical things. A lot of trauma that's happened in location. Yeah, I think some of it can be residual. Like if it's consistent, it happens all the time, like clockwork. Yeah, it's usually residual haunting.
Yeah. All right. Do you got anything else? It's kind of a slow one today. We are trying to get your ghost stories. Humble little guilt trip there, everybody. So we don't have a whole lot to talk about. I want to do ghost stories. We're getting closer to Halloween. So if you have your ghost stories, you can send them directly to Boggsimus on his Facebook.
You can. You can send them to send the Ryan Bay. Well, if you're not my friend, it'll archive it weird. Send them to Columbus RIP.
Yeah.
You can send them to Outlaw Paranormal Posse. Those are my two ghost hunting groups. We would love to read them.
Absolutely.
Heck, you can even send them to Boggsimus Games. Just any one of those things. Where you can even send them to Brave the Sea if you want.
Hell yeah.
Just any of those four things. Just whatever's convenient for you. Send them my way.
Absolutely. You can also send them to me by email at montytheyank@gmail.com, or you can send me a direct message on Twitter. It allows you to elongate your story, just like people like elongated things. So we're going to be back hopefully next week. We're going to try a shorter version anyways. So we were trying to keep it under an hour, which we successfully did. Yay! But I do want to do ghost stories. I know as we get into October, I want to start talking about the history of Halloween. So I think that could be very interesting. And once Columbus RAP gets together, we will have the world exclusive reveal of their information. And by that, I mean, I'm lying. They'll probably put it on their website first.
Oh yeah, it's going to go on the Facebook page, but a lot of people, we don't have like an incredible following yet with it, so it would definitely benefit all all parties to have it posted here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, till next time, I am Monty the Yank, and with me, as always,
Ryan Boggsimus. Boggs.
Boggsimus. Boggs.
The Boggsimus.
The Boggs of the booby. And we'll talk to you all again next time.